It's 370 maintaining level 350.
Malaysian 370. Malaysian 370, contact Ho Chi Minh 120.9. Good night.
Good night, Malaysian 370.
I'm here at the border station in Western Australia, where an unidentified man has been found, sitting at the very location where MH370 went missing.
I was on MH370.
On the night of March 8th, 2014, Kuala Lumpur lay in silence. On the runway, Malaysia Airlines, flight MH370 was preparing to depart. 239 people were already settled in their seats. Business people, international students, small families, a seasoned crew, the random pieces of a fateful mosaic. At 12:41 a.m., MH370 took off for Beijing. In the night sky, every indicator suggested an ordinary journey. Favorable weather, stable systems, nothing unusual in the flight path. No one knew that. For the first hour, everything operated perfectly, just like the hundreds of thousands of flights that had crossed these skies before. At 1:19 a.m., the cockpit sent a message. Good night, Malaysia 370. That was the final transmission recorded. 4 minutes later, the plane vanished from radar. All tracking data was severed, and the entire flight monitoring system could no longer confirm MH370's position. In an instant, every connection between MH370 and the ground turned into absolute silence. For the next 6 hours, silent alarms spread through air traffic control centers across Asia. In Beijing, the arrivals board at the international terminal still displayed on time. But no one knew that. From that moment, 239 people had stepped into the greatest shadow in modern aviation. Every flight has its time to arrive and depart. But for MH370, the only destination left was a data void, a place where even the world's most advanced search tools suddenly became powerless. From that moment, every aviation safety rule, every international rescue protocol was put to the test. And the biggest question was asked: what truly happened in that moment? The plane vanished from the radar screen. After the final signal, MH370 disappeared from all civilian tracking systems. Ground radar could no longer locate its coordinates. The operations center switched to alert mode. Emergency data retrieval orders activated across every channel. But just when every clue seemed lost, Malaysia's military radar suddenly detected something strange. Instead of heading toward Beijing, MH370 abruptly turned, veering west, crossing the Malay Peninsula, then plunging deep into the Strait of Malacca. There was no explanation, no notification sent to the ground. Inmarsat satellite data continued to pick up pings from the plane, steady, cold, perfectly timed, lasting almost 7 hours after contact was lost. The flight path bent, far from any commercial route, quietly gliding toward an unnamed stretch of the southern Indian Ocean. On the ground, international search centers began tracing every possibility. Malaysia, Australia, China, the United States, all set up emergency command posts. Each new report added another layer of suspicion. The crew sent no distress signals. No one triggered the emergency locator beacon. No system ever recorded a mayday. A modern Boeing 777, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of equipment, hundreds of lives, suddenly vanished into blank space. No sound, no image, no physical evidence. Even the most advanced investigative technology in the world stood before a wall of silence. All that remained was a broken flight path, a chain of pings that lasted until 8:19 a.m., and a question hanging in the air, unspoken. Did MH370 truly disappear, or was it taken somewhere, deliberately? Weeks of searching led nowhere. The MH370 file fell into deadlock. Right at the point when every clue seemed exhausted, an unexpected name appeared on the investigator's desk. AZ. This man was discovered at a border station. His clothes were worn, his footwear mismatched. A right sneaker, a left sandal, both caked in red dust. On his wrist, a faded fabric band, barely legible, read MH370. His eyes were sunken, as if time had stripped away every memory but one. Authorities assumed he was just another homeless drifter, until AZ requested to meet with international investigators.
I was on MH370.
That one sentence restarted the entire process from scratch. When he entered the interrogation room, AZ carried an uncanny calm. Every movement was slow. His eyes never blinked when answering any question. At first, the psychologists thought he was delusional, yet every detail he provided matched perfectly with classified data, known only to insiders.
He began with a seat, 17K by the window economy class, just behind the wing.
Every description from AZ came with a timestamp, a position, a physical sensation as the aircraft shifted direction. I looked outside, watched the horizon fade away. No one said a word. Everyone waited for something that would never come. Investigators relentlessly pressed for details about the cabin's change of course and why he was the only one to return. Every time they pushed, AZ showed no sign of hesitation. I woke up in a white room, no clock, no window, no sound except the wheels of a meal tray sliding across the floor. One day, I received a handwritten note, just 2 words: "Leave now." To verify his story, specialists tested him with details coded only in classified files, the location of safety equipment, maintenance labels, seat color codes. Not once did AZ answer incorrectly. Every detail matched, perfectly, with the technical records of the missing flight. None of AZ's testimony could explain why he was released, while the other 238 never returned. When investigators pressed him for a reason, AZ gave only a short answer.
I was the excess not important enough to keep.
Aziz's appearance didn't solve the case, nor could he be erased from the files. Like a lone fragment drifting in the ocean, he left a crack in every theory ever constructed. His return, rather than providing answers, only deepened the shadows of the MH370 mystery. Aziz's account instantly became the center of heated debate in every investigation room and across international media. The MH370 file was reopened, every piece of evidence once again examined under the light of a single witness who had emerged after all these years. Aviation specialists began to review all radar logs, communication records, and Inmarsat satellite data. They compared every detail AZ provided: seat maps, flight paths, technical markings inside the cabin, with actual records. Everything matched. But the more they checked, the more absurd it became. His fingerprints matched no database. Medical scans revealed his body showed almost no signs of aging after 11 years. Psychologists disagreed. Some said trauma, others suspected he was a victim, or perhaps a perfectly placed pawn. Yet the more they verified, the more the file revealed fissures no one could explain. How could a Boeing 777 disappear simultaneously from both civilian and military radar? Why did every emergency signal device remain silent? Who had the power to control the communications so that a plane could change course without anyone noticing? The terrorism theory was raised first, but no group claimed responsibility. A hijack from within? Not a shred of evidence linked the crew to any outside organization. Aziz's appearance made everything more complex. A survivor returns after more than a decade, with vivid memories of the flight, yet unable to offer any physical evidence but his own existence. Analysts split into camps. Some believed AZ was part of a large-scale cover-up. Others doubted the investigation's ability to distinguish truth from deception. The media erupted with theories: high-tech sabotage, satellite hacking, even the involvement of intelligence agencies. The disappearance of MH370 quickly moved beyond the boundaries of engineering or criminal investigation. From the very beginning, global media transformed it into a symbol of fear, suspicion, and the endless thirst for justice. The families of the victims became lost in a maze of information. They received contradictory news, government promises that went silent, debris found on faraway shores that no one could identify. Each press conference, each update from the search teams became another cut on the last thread of hope. Aziz's return was like a fresh wound on an old scar. While many clung to his story as a final ray of hope, just as many saw it as pain being exploited for someone else's agenda. His story was stretched between conspiracy theorists, those praying for a miracle, and those who feared being deceived yet again. Social media exploded with debate. Some called for the case to be fully reopened. Some demanded DNA tests, reviews of border surveillance footage. There were also voices of ridicule, claiming AZ was just another actor in a global media show. But one truth remained undeniable. The return of a single witness, after more than a decade missing, shook everything people thought they knew about MH370. This mystery challenges not just the limits of science, but bends our trust in the system, in the very power of reason itself. Are we now living through a trial of the digital age, where data can be manipulated, memories rewritten, and truth forever out of reach for the crowd? The MH370 enigma, more than a decade later, is no longer simply a question of engineering, data, or fate. It's a measure of the limits of human understanding and technological pride. AZ came back, not as someone to answer our questions, but as living proof that some things defy explanation by logic, machines, or the millions spent on investigation. He is the gap that exists between the numbers, the scratch on the surface of truth that the world has tried to polish over for 11 years. MH370 became the ultimate test of social trust. Do all the data, cameras, and satellites truly let us control our fate? Or does that very control blind us to what we most need to see? AZ sat before the camera, not crying, not apologizing, not asking anyone to believe him. The last words he left in the investigation files: "If I'm the only one to return, maybe the world just isn't ready to hear the real answer." This mystery does not close with a conclusion. It only leaves a crack that will never heal. So, in the end, what do you trust more? What's been published, or the words of the only one to ever return from the darkness? MH370 is not just a case, not just a collective tragedy. It's a reminder that, even in the age of data, there are still wounds that science and the media have never reached the bottom of. If you've ever waited for a miracle, or doubted the stories that were carefully arranged for you, this is your story. What do you trust more? The facts that have been verified, or the memory of the only person who returned from the white void of history? Share your thoughts, comment below, and let's go deeper into the darkness where no answer has been found. This mystery isn't stopping here. Maybe the answer will never be revealed, but the question will live on every time someone looks up at the sky and wonders, where did that flight really go? But sometimes, it's not just the data that goes missing. It's our trust, our sense of safety, our faith that the world is still governed by logic. To this day, investigators pore over digital archives, desperate families scan blurry satellite images, and strangers on the internet trade theories late into the night. Some are convinced the answer lies somewhere in the ocean's depths. Others whisper that it never left the clouds. Every time a piece of wreckage washes ashore, hope flickers, then dies. Each rumor, each leaked report, each grainy photo of an unidentified figure at a distant border crossing fans the flames of a mystery that refuses to die. There are nights when you wonder, what if it happened to your flight, your loved one, your life? What if one day, someone came home, carrying the weight of everyone who vanished? Would you believe them? Or would you turn away, too afraid to face the possibility that the truth is sometimes more terrifying than the lie? For 11 years, the world has searched for closure, but all we've found are more cracks in the story. Every new fact fits like a puzzle piece with jagged edges, never quite making the picture whole. Maybe that's what AZ really brought back, an unfinished story, a warning that the greatest mysteries are the ones we live with, not the ones we solve. Because in the end, the darkest questions don't wait for answers. They linger, waiting for someone brave enough to ask.
If it was all taken from us, what will it take to get it back?
And if the next survivor comes knocking, will we listen? Or will we look away, afraid of what we might hear?